if you look at where we are coming from a situation where we didn't have any state offices. And you can imagine if there was no state office in any state, you cannot even talk of doing anything. Now, we have been able to establish offices at the state level. At least the presence of offices there have led to an increased level of sensitization and awareness at the states. And they may not have all the required to work. For instance, we need vehicles and we need resources to be at every local government area, but we are not yet there. So, yes, you can say, well, the state offices need to do more, but you can also see that the presence of the state offices has really improved the capacity of the commission to cover the entire country. You recall during the 16 days of activism, the whole state offices of the commission were on the streets for the entire 16 days. And that's a lot. Creating awareness, visiting traditional rulers, visiting religious institutions, visiting the legislature in the state, visiting the office of the governor and the wife of the governor, visiting the office of the chief judge, and so on and so forth. And also working with civil society, including the Nigerian Bar Association, to create awareness around those issues. And they visit the prisons and police cells in all the states, at least on a monthly basis. That was not possible when we were not in all the states, because it would have meant our team leaving from here to go to all the states. But now we have resident offices in all the states that visit the police detention centers, that visit the prisons in every state on a monthly basis. So yes, maybe we are not able to be at all the marketplaces to see all the women in the marketplaces, or visit all the motor parks to sensitize people, or embark on town hall meetings in all the local government areas. Of course, these things will depend on how much resources you have. But I believe that we are making impact at the state level, but we can do better. Right violations have always been there. Let's not forget. The problem is we shouldn't forget we are coming from a period of military rule when, as a result of a long period of military rule, most of our people have accepted these violations as a way of life. I can tell you that maybe in my village, if somebody is arrested and taken to the police, the next thing people will start gathering money to go and bail the person out. It is taken as a normal thing. There's no big deal about it. That's the way things are done. But now we are now creating awareness around such issues to say, but this is wrong. If this happens to you, come and report. So what has happened is not simply an increase in the number of violations, but the commission has been able to put in a mechanism to discover these violations and now get them documented and reported. So the more our efficiency in doing that, the more violations are discovered and incorporated into the database. That is what is happening as at present. I don't think it is that the violations are increasing. There are basic violations that go on, extrajudicial killings, maybe, terrorist attacks, but you have issues like domestic violence, for instance, sexual and gender-based violence, rape. These things have been there with us as long as the country existed. Now, at the village level, these things are settled. Maybe the religious leader or the traditional leader, they settle it at family levels and things like that, without taking into consideration the interests of the victim or the survivors. They always suffer. It is like, don't worry now. Maybe like if it's done by a father or a big uncle, They'll be considering, how do you want to humiliate this uncle and now expose him at the town meeting? At times even go to the police. Police say it's his family something, go and settle it. But it's always been there. But what has happened now, we're revolutionizing the system because of the measures we have put in place. One, to make people realize this is not the right way. This is not normal. This is not proper. Report this, you can get assistance. We can help you to get remedy. We can help you to get access to justice. So people are now coming forward. The things they used to accept as normal, they now feel that in fact, they have discovered their voices. Their voices were lost, but they are able to now, come partner with the commission. And that is why it seems as if we are discovering more violations that have been existing. The human rights system works in a certain way. It also recognizes the separation of powers and the various functions of other arms of government. We are supposed to work in collaboration with other arms of government. It's like a relay race. You cannot do everything. Like our law says that if in the course of our work we discover anything that requires prosecution, don't forget, prosecution of crimes and criminal cases is the jurisdiction of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. The Commission is not going to take away those powers from him that has been given to him by the Constitution of the country. So our ask is, if there is any, because some human rights violations also constitute crimes. If you take away somebody's life, if you kill him, it becomes murder outside taking away the right to life. You know what I'm saying? So when that happens, the commission cannot now come and start prosecuting the person for murder. Okay. You hand him over to the Attorney General, whose responsibility under the Constitution is to prosecute. However, if it is a civil matter, and the matter is in court, there's provision in our law that we can express interest that this is a human rights matter. We're interested in this matter. As a friend of the court, we want to join the proceedings. We want to be part of the process to make sure that human rights is protected along the process. And human rights violations statutorily also have remedies. For instance, you remember, even in the Constitution, if you have detained somebody beyond the constitutional period, for instance, you're entitled to the damages. Now, you cannot say the damages will be 10 naira or 20 naira. It depends on
the discussion.
Exactly. Okay. And assessment, the gravity, and so on and so forth. So, such civil remedies, the Commission can award compensation for damages, like you saw in this NSAS protest. Now, coming to the NSAS issue, which you are saying that, yes, we have seen the compensation, but so that goes to the shared responsibility in the findings. For instance, some people were supposed to be prosecuted. Those ones were referred to the Attorney General. Some people were supposed to be disciplined in terms of demotion in rank, in terms of dismissal, and so on and so forth. Police Service Commission is responsible for disciplining police officers. Okay. So those people were referred to the appropriate agencies. We monitor. Okay. Monitoring is you keep reminding them. You make sure that this is not swept under the carpet. And the answers I gave you are as a result of constant monitoring of these, MDAs that these things were referred to. So we believe they are doing the right thing. At least when we made the inquiries, they answered us and told us this is where we are. So we believe them. And we think that action is going on in all these issues. The issue of prosecuting violations of the Electoral Act are actually with the Independent National Electoral Commission. The INEC has said, well, that the work of conducting the election is enough for them, that these other criminal aspects are a big challenge to them. and they have called out for, establishment of an independent elections tribunal to deal with these criminal aspects. They're working with the police to deal with all these issues, but we have done our report and we brought this to their attention. So to take further necessary steps on these behoves on them, there should be an independent panel that should be looking at election-related offenses, which has been a major setback in our electoral system, and maybe the reasons for not setting it up are obvious, because politicians are the decision makers. And the politically exposed persons you are talking about are big-time politicians who are either holding positions in the Senate or House of Reps or in the executive. So if you do set up this panel, of course, the implication is that there'll be kind of
to catch up with them.
Of course, to catch up with them. If you look at all the Justice Uwe's recommendations, almost all of them have been implemented. So why is this not being implemented? So like I'm saying, it's an opportunity also for me to call out on government to do the needful. If it's a commission, yes, it will be sitting on day-to-day basis, and it will have all the powers of a court. Kenya is a reaction to bad governance. That is what Kenya is all about, But you see, somebody said that the way a people are genetically made up reflects in the way they also react to things. Kenya has fought for their independence. They fought the whites for their independence. So their threshold to accommodate these things like this is not as elastic as that of Nigeria.
Okay.
You remember the Arab Springs and things like that. Yes. What caused them? Very small things.
Bread and all those.
Exactly. Which, if it were happening in Nigeria, in fact, nobody will call it anything serious. So I think that is the advantage our politicians are taking, because they know that Nigerians tolerate a lot, that before you can push Nigerians to the wall and they react, it takes a lot. And also, the lesson again from Kenya, one of the things that has made it difficult for the people to rise and fight for their rights in this country has been because we are torn and divided along religious and tribal lines, which is also in Kenya. You find out that when there is bad governance, for instance, when you go to Wuse Market, it doesn't know the Christian or the Muslim. If you're going to buy pepper at Wuse Market, they will not ask you whether you're Igbo or Yoruba or Hausa or Fulani. So that's the common denominator, is the poverty that is ravaging the people. But so I would urge the politicians to take advantage of the patience of Nigerians and make the necessary corrections. The right thing is not to continue to refuse to do anything because you think Nigerians will continue forever to be indolent. No. It's very, very bad for citizens to start attacking security agencies. The truth is, if there's breakdown of law and order, nobody will be spared. The poor man will die, the big man will die. So, if somebody has put his life on the line to make sure that as you left your house this morning, you'll be able to go back today, you don't take it for granted. We need the security agencies alive and respected so that they can also protect us. Now, having said that, we cannot resort to this extrajudicial killing of law enforcement agents because they also are implicated in extrajudicial killings against the citizens. It is not an official policy of government or the law enforcement agents to do extrajudicial killings or to torture anybody and so on and so forth. These are the action of overzealous officers. We're all human beings. Even if the same mother gave birth to 10 children, all of them are not going to behave alike. If you come to a classroom now of 30 people and you teach them the same thing, if you give them a case to deal with, all of them are not going to react the same way. So despite the fact that all these law enforcement agents have been told the right thing to do, the normal human endeavor anticipates that there are going to be some who will not do the right thing, some will have mischievous intention, some may even be there for a different purpose altogether. So those things happen. That is not why I would say, okay, therefore, now kill every law enforcement officer who has done any wrong. No, because the truth is, maybe the person that will be harmed may not be the person who is the bad guy. It may be the innocent one who will lose his life in response. Because what was the criteria in the killing the army officers that were killed in Asaba, in Delta State? What was the criteria in killing some of the policemen that were killed in Ebonyi State? There was no label on their face that they were the guilty police officers. No. We visit the prison every month. We have a report, a State of Human Rights report, which talks about our visit to the prisons. And we have even now been recognized as the National Preventive Mechanism for Nigeria. This National Preventive Mechanism is a mechanism established under the optional protocol to the Convention Against Torture, which every country is asked to get an independent body that will be monitoring places of detention like prisons and police cells and so on and so forth, which I believe is because of the way the Commission has carried out its duties independently. That is what gave the government of Nigeria the confidence to say, yes, we will locate this national preventive mechanism. The condition of Nigerian prison is pitiable in the sense that the prisons are majorly overcrowded. However, our study shows that whereas the prisons in the major cities are overcrowded, the prisons in the hinterland are not overcrowded. Curiously, the crime rate also at the cities are more than the crime rate at the hinterland. So, and then also because of proximity to where the trials will go on, there's a tendency to locate prisoners near
those areas
where the courts are going on. So because there are few courts in the hinterland, that makes it not a very good location to cite people, especially awaiting trial inmates. So now, once there's congestion, everything scatters. Everything scatters. If there's congestion, that means that a cell that is supposed to take 20 people will be taking 40 people. However, part of the solution which we suggested was the kind of making sure that the prisons are not only federal establishments, because it doesn't make sense that most of the people in the detention centers in the prisons are people referred by the state courts, the magistrate courts in the local government areas. Immediately you are put in detention, you become a federal
Property.
from federal property. It doesn't make any sense, So now the constitution has been amended now, so that states can establish their own prisons. So that will help to deal with the issue of congestion as well. And once the issue of congestion is sorted out, the livelihood of prison inmates will improve. For instance, if a room is made for 2 people and 2 people are staying there, it will be going to be more comfortable. It's going to be more conducive. The possibility of keeping it clean will be more. And then that is the beginning of everything. Once any prison is congested, you are open to diseases, you are open to infections, you are open to dirty environment. For instance, the toilet facility that was meant for 10 people will now be used by 40 people. So you can see that because the new idea about prison is not really for punishment. It's for rehabilitation and kind of trying to make people change their way of life, give them an opportunity to come back and contribute to the society. So if that is the case, then it should be a place where people can have a sober reflection, where people can learn new ways of life, where people should not feel abandoned, or where a place that should not make people feel more angry about the society. But anybody who goes through the prisons in Nigeria will certainly come out and feel that the society has not treated him or her well. So recidivism is there. So most of them, when they come back, after a little time, they go back. So they feel so agitated that they don't even want to have anything to do with society anymore. We also have the corruption aspect that is making the prisons to be overcrowded. A lot of people who are being sent, especially awaiting trial inmates, had no business going through that process. Part of it is the corruption in the system, corruption in the police, corruption in the lower judiciary, for instance. You see some people who are not supposed to be arrested are arrested, and somebody is going to feel that you should give him or her money to get your freedom. If you don't do that, and not to wash his hands clean, he pushes you to a magistrate court. You know that the holding charge syndrome is no longer the law now, but it still goes on. So what they do is, once they charge you to court, they say, well, we are still doing investigation. And before you know it, this investigation can go on for another 6 months, 1 year. And the Constitution says you are innocent until proven guilty. But when you are now being detained on suspicion that is unfounded, you're already suffering. You're already being treated like a guilty person.
Yes, sir.
So as long as that goes on, the prisons will keep on housing people that are not supposed to house. And the people who are supposed to be there for 1 month, stay for 1 year. As we visit the prisons, we make recommendation to appropriate authorities. However, for instance, if they are still carrying out their investigation, it's so difficult to say that you shouldn't investigate anybody. The Constitution doesn't allow you to do that. And though they have been given, for instance, yes, under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and the Counter-Terrorism, the Terrorism Prevention Act, and so on and so forth, you can actually, they can get an extension for periods under when they will be doing investigation. So the law is also part of the challenge, which the law enforcement agents exploit at times to keep on keeping people there. Now, the most valid way is if it is the court that says, if you cannot bring any evidence, then
Discharge.
You have to discharge this man. But you can only discharge, you cannot discharge and acquit as well. You know, because it will not be on merit. Now, when the commission visits these prisons, we make recommendations based on so many things. For instance, some people, their case files cannot be seen anymore. Some people who have not gone to court for a year or 2 or 3 years. Some people, you know, they are in the prison, there's no record. Nobody knows that there. In fact, it is like an abduction. You know, somebody is dumped there. There's no, you know,
records that you are keeping the person.
Exactly. So when we discover cases like that, we write immediately and something is done. But for those who are having their trial in progress, it is so difficult to say. And even most judges will feel very reluctant because tomorrow, what if the person turns out to be a major criminal? It will now be said that maybe
It was
you colluded or you collected a bribe to go and recommend that such a person should be released.
Okay.
So it's an area people are reluctant. But this can be curbed if the arresting authorities do the right thing. And we know there's no perfect situation in life, but a situation where you go and raid the beer parlors on a Friday and carry everybody, and you expect people to start paying 5,000 to bail themselves, and those who don't bring that 5,000 before Monday,
can stay there till
you rush them to court, and then the court will now remand them, and the process has started. That needs to stop.
Okay.
You know, and it is through intelligence-led policing that you can stop this. The way police mostly does the investigation now is guesswork. You know, if you write a petition against anybody now, they will go and carry that person. So your enemy can really decide to deal with you. Yeah, my dream would be to have a Nigerian society where, you know, there is some level of respect for the dignity of the human person in the way people are treated by law enforcement agents. You know, we've been struggling at police reforms, at practices like arrest and detention, practices like taking people to court, being investigated, so that you don't just clamp on people. You know, these are the areas that touch on many Nigerians. These are the areas that are increasing prison population. These are the areas that make people feel angry with the system. If you look at the complaints during the NSAS protests, a lot of people who joined that protest because of personal experiences with law enforcement agents, at the traffic, at the checkpoint, at the, you know, somebody will see you at the checkpoint, you ask you for receipt of your laptop or receipt of your phone, or see the phone you are carrying. You now say, you start scrolling through your details. So these are people who felt aggrieved with the system. And this makes governance, this makes it difficult for the government. You see, I want to contribute to peace in the country by resolving all these conflicts so that the number of people who will be angry against the government to be highly reduced. You know, because it's making governance at the highest level very, very difficult. My advice for Nigerians is you have to be conscious of your rights. You have to take on your leaders, not in a violent way, but let them understand that you know your rights.
Okay.
If you do that, what will happen is they'll have no choice than to make sure that the policies, the laws, and every action they take are to make people realize their rights. And in that way, we'll have good governance. And Nigeria will now be a place where the culture of respect of human rights and good governance will prevail. And that will lead to development of the country.
The beauties of Nigeria TV.